The Hollow Force. Episode 1. The Holes. If this statement found its way to you, then you're probably a new student. That's usually how things began at Blackwater. Nobody explained anything directly here. Students pass stories around in secret because the facility either pretends nothing is happening, nothing is wrong, or they generally can't see what the rest of us is doing. I used to think those stories were stupid. Now I spent most nights staring at my dorm walls waiting for them to start breathing again. Before all of the things that have happened to me, I transferred to Blackwater during freshman year after getting expelled from my old school. Fighting, bad grades, skipping class, the usual reasons parents sent their kids somewhere far away and expensive so they don't have to deal with them anymore. My parents called Blackwater a fresh start. Looking back, I think this place was the beginning of the end for me. The campus looked wrong the moment I arrived. Not haunted exactly, at least for now, just dead. The trees around the school had no leaves, even though it was early autumn. The stone buildings were stained black near the windows like smoke damage that had never been cleaned. And there were almost no sounds, no birds, no insects. Even the wind felt muted, or they were all avoiding this place. The older students stared at me while I unpacked my things. Not in a normal way, either, more like they were trying to figure out how long I'll last. Dorm 32A, at the end of the third floor hallway. The hall flickers, damaged lights, constantly up there. And the further you walked from the stairwell, the colder it got. By the time I reached my room, I could see my breath. I remember the door itself more than anything else. The wood around the handle was wrapped inward like something had been clawing at it from the inside for years. I should have asked for a different room. But at the same time, as a new transfer, I didn't really want people to think I was better than them to deserve a new room, or I felt ungrateful. Inside the dorm room was small and narrow with yellow wallpaper peeling near the ceiling. There were water stains above the bed shaped almost like handprints. The radiator rattled all night but never actually produced heat. The room smelled damp all the time, like wet dirt sealed inside the basement. The first few days weren't terrible. Uncomfortable but manageable. Classes were boring, most of the teachers looked exhausted all the time, and nobody smiled much. Some students whispered when I passed them in the halls, a few avoided eye contact completely. There was a time I went back into my dorm room because, well, it was a free period, thankfully. Teachers was already yelling and screaming out of nowhere for some reason. You could say she was probably taking something, but no one dares to question it fully. And then I noticed the holes. I was unpacking books at my desk when I saw them in the corner beside my bed. Tiny little holes clustered together in the plaster wall. They look unnaturally. Immediately, not cracked, paint, or insect damage. Smooth little circles packed tightly together like someone had pressed their fingers into wet clay. I couldn't stop staring at them. Something about the pattern made me nauseous. Every time I looked too long, my skin prickled. Still, I ignored them. The building was old. Old building had damage. That was the logical explanation I could think of. But over the next few days, the holes spread. At first, it was subtle enough that I questioned my own memory. Maybe there had always been that many. Maybe I hadn't really noticed it before. But eventually, I became certain they were growing. I started checking them every morning before class. Every day, there were more. Not only that, they were moving. Slowly. Closer to my bed. That was the part that frightened me most. The clusters stretched further along the wall each morning like mold creeping across spoiled food. Sometimes I swear they changed positions while I wasn't looking directly at them. I stopped sleeping well after the first week. Every night I had dreams about the holes opening wider and wider until the wall itself collapsed inwards. Sometimes I dreamed there were eyes inside them, other times fingers. I would wake up sweating, feeling that something had been standing beside my bed watching me sleep. And then the noises started. I turned my head to the holes that was nearby, And the best way I can describe it, it was wet breathing. Late at night, usually around 2 or 3 in the morning, I'll hear faint shifting sounds from the corner wall, tiny scratches, wet little clicks. Once I heard what sounded like whispering. I tried covering the holes with tape one night before bed. When I woke up, the tape was gone. Not peeled off, gone. The holes were larger than before. I finally asked another student about dorm 32A during one lunch afternoon. The second I mentioned my room number, they stopped eating and stared at me. Then he asked if I started hearing things yet. I laughed because I thought he was messing with me. He didn't laugh back. And before I could even ask more, he got up and left his tray behind. That was the first time I truly felt afraid. That night, everything changed. I woke up because I felt a warm breath against my face. At first, I thought someone was standing over me. Maybe one of my seniors coming over to prank me, probably drawing on my face, or just making it seem like some girl was trying to kiss me. I opened my eyes and saw the wall beside my bed completely covered in holes. Hundreds, maybe thousands. The plaster looked swollen and soft around them, pulsing slowly like flesh. Some of the holes were opening and closing slightly. I could hear movement deep inside the wall, crawling and squirming and breathing. I scrambled backwards so fast I fell off the bed. The sound changed when I moved. The noises inside the wall became frantic, excited almost. I remember grabbing the utility knife from my desk because I didn't know what else to do. I started stabbing at the wall in panic. The blade sank into the plaster like it was wet meat instead of dry wall. The thick gray dust mixed with something darker leaked down the wall. Then my hand slipped. My fingers touched one of the holes directly. Everything stopped instantly. The wall became normal again. No holes, no sounds, nothing. For maybe 5 seconds, I genuinely thought I imagined all of it. Then, my hand started burning. Not itching, burning. I looked down and saw tiny black holes across, opening my fingertips one by one. I still remember the sound they made. Soft little popping noises beneath my skin. I screamed so loudly that someone down the hall started banging on my door, asking if I was okay. I didn't know what to do. I was scared. I panicked and just said I was fine and I just had a nightmare. And they walked away. But deep down, it felt like fire in my hand. The holes spread across my hand unnaturally fast. They tunneled beneath my skin like an infection. I could see them forming under the surface before they opened. My arm felt hollow. That's the only word for it. Hollow. I wrapped my hand and arm in bandages because I couldn't stand looking at it anymore. The holes leaked clear fluid and smelled sweet and rotten at the same time. I swear I could feel tiny movements underneath them, like insects crawling through my veins. I quickly ran to the nurse's office, shaking so hard I could barely walk. The nurse on duty looked irritated more than concerned. She sat me down, unwrapped my bandages, and stared at my arm. There was nothing there. Perfect skin, not even redness. I started panicking, trying to explain what I seen, what I felt, what I did, but she cut me off before I finished. She told me I was just trying to get out of class. I needed a better excuse. I went back to my dorm feeling completely insane. Then the holes appeared again the moment I closed the door. That became my life for months. The holes only appeared when I was alone, and every single time I tried showing someone, they vanished beforehand. Teachers started treating me different. Nurses rolled their eyes whenever I showed up. Students whispered about me in the hallway. Someone dared started calling me the boy who cried wolf, and eventually the name stuck. I stopped talking about the holes after a while. What's the point? Nobody believed me. Then somehow, things got better. The holes disappeared for nearly 3 months. No sounds, no nightmares, nothing. I convinced myself stress had to at least do with it. Caused maybe hallucinations. Maybe the Blackwater's atmosphere had gotten to my head. Everything was normal. I started getting A's. I was able to talk to people. And then I met Lily. She transferred in during spring semester. She was funny, loud, stubborn, the complete opposite of everyone else at this school. Being around her made Blackwater feel less scary somehow. And for the first time since moving here, I felt normal. We started spending time together after class. She dragged me outside campus to get coffee or sit with me during study hall. Eventually, she asked me out first because apparently I was painfully awkward, whatever that means. I remember feeling genuinely happy the night of our date. That feeling didn't last long. We were halfway through dinner at a small diner outside town when my chest suddenly felt tighten. It felt like hot needles pushing through my lungs. I could barely breathe. Lily asked if I was okay, but I looked at her with disgust, like I was about to puke. I shook my head because I couldn't answer. I rushed to the restroom before she could stop me. I looked terrible in the mirror. Pale gray skin, bloodshot eyes, sweat soaking through my shirt. Then I unbuttoned my uniform, and what I saw made me cry. The holes were everywhere, not small clusters anymore. My chest looked rotten, deep holes spread across my ribs and stomach, wide enough for me to see movement underneath. Clear fluid dripped onto the tiles. Every breath made horrible wet sounds inside my body. And the worst part? I could see inside myself. I saw pieces of my lungs moving through the holes in my chest. I saw something else moving too. Something black shifted deeper inside me whenever I breathed. That was the moment I realized the holes weren't a disease. Something was living inside them. I screamed. I screamed so loud that a lot of people started pounding at the restroom door, asking if I needed help, asking if something was wrong, asking if I needed a doctor. I opened the door, and I ran before anyone could see me, before Lily could see me. I don't even remember getting back to campus. I just remember locking myself inside my dorm and pushing my dresser against the door. That was almost a year ago today. The holes still spreading across my body every night now. Sometimes they appear inside my mouth. Sometimes I wake up choking because I could feel opening forming down my throat. I hear whispers constantly after midnight. The walls breathe when the lights are off. And sometimes, when the room is quiet enough, I hear other voices coming from the inside the holes in me, crying, begging, pleading, like there are other people trapped somewhere behind the walls, behind me. I don't think dorm 32A is haunted. I think it's hungry. And if you were assigned this dorm after me, leave immediately. Don't unpack. Don't sleep here. And whatever you do, don't touch the holes. By time this room will be empty, I'll be dead. I'd rather be covered in bandages walking around than have someone live here and deal with my suffering.